What's up, Meta Nerds? This video is all about what caused Kuat Drive Yards to have a falling out with the Trade Federation and other future members of the CIS, an event which propelled them into an alliance with the Republic. As you would rightfully suspect, Palpatine's manipulation had a major part to play in this development, but it shows a level of genius that will make you respect him even more than you already do. We have to go all the way back to 33 BBY, when Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum made a proposal to tax trade routes in the Outer Rim systems. An anti-monopoly organization known as the Nebula Front had raised public awareness about the issues of these mega-corporations on the edge of the galaxy, and although most disapproved of their terroristic tactics, some felt that the Republic needed to step in. The argument was that the Republic had a standard of quality and ethics that were not being upkept on worlds that were not members of the Republic, and this was making it uncompetitive for Republic businesses. Quality control of products, environmental regulations, and perhaps most important of all, the prohibition of slavery made it so Republic products were far more expensive than those produced in the Outer Rim. Organizations like the Trade Federation, a shipping conglomerate established in 350 BBY, to act as a sort of lobby for business interests in the Senate, was of course upset with these new tax proposals. But it wasn't just the Trade Federation. Nearly all businesses that conducted galactic trade, or that imported materials from the Outer Rim, would see a raise in their production costs. This in effect made it less of a tax, and really just a tariff, which is often rightly described as just being a tax on the consumer. The Senate and the public were debating the efficacy of this policy, as businesses would increase the cost of their products, affecting the average consumer, while others pointed out that this was necessary to build up Republic businesses and increase the quality of products, while driving credits to more morally run operations, like ones that didn't use slave labor. There were real merits to both sides of the argument, but Palpatine saw this as an amazing opportunity to get the Republic a dedicated military contractor and push into motion certain events that would culminate in a galactic-scale war. As tensions rose between the Senate and the businesses, the senator from Naboo proposed the Eriadu Trade Summit, where negotiators from all interested parties could meet and air their grievances in person, instead of just fighting for sound bites on the HoloNet. Although this seemed well-intentioned, King Ars Varuna of Naboo already knew enough about Palpatine to be suspicious, but he had no way of seeing the grand scheme here. Instead, he just accused Palpatine of setting this up on behest of his Trade Federation friends. Now what Palpatine does next will hit every criteria that he could possibly want, to make his future chancellorship awe-inspiring, helping to set up a background that allowed most citizens to welcome the transition to the Empire. He will make it so the Jedi look weak, Chancellor Valorum looks like he got played, the Trade Federation looks evil, Sidious's pawn Nute Gunray gets to rise to power, and Kuat walks away resenting the other major shipbuilders. The Eriadu Summit had representatives from the Association of Free Trade Worlds, the Commerce Guild, the Corporate Alliance, the Hutts, the Rights of Sentience League, Syntax Sector, the Stark Veteran Assembly, the Techno Union, the Trade Federation, and Kuat Drive Yards. And from the Republic, there were representatives from several member worlds, but most importantly was that Valorum was there in person. Right in the middle of these negotiations, the security droids at the meeting were hacked, causing them to kill several of these galactic VIPs. 6 of the 7 Directorate members of the Trade Federation were killed, leaving Nute Gunray as their new leader, a weak Neimoidian that was being manipulated by Darth Sidious. Other representatives were killed, but important to this story were the 2 high-ranking Kuwati delegates. Icing on the cake was that as the HoloNet learned of these attacks, many thought that the Chancellor should have been wise enough to realize that this was a trap, and the Jedi definitely should have been able to stop it. And overall, it showed that the Republic was weak, and that its enemies were not that afraid of the Republic striking back. No one knew for certain which group caused this attack, or if some were allied and just allowed this to happen, but Kuat was outraged by the loss of these 2 delegates, suspecting that other companies were just trying to kill Valorum, but didn't care about the Kuwatis that were caught in the crossfire. As a company that has made warships for millennia, the fact that these other companies didn't really fear retribution definitely did not sit well with Kuat Drive Yards. Even though 6 of the 7 Federation delegates were lost, it didn't put Gunray above suspicion, as many believed that he was just trying to take out his other competitors, and the Chancellor that would have cost him a lot of money, taking them both out with this one event. Senator Palpatine just looked like the guy who was trying to make peace, but what sealed the deal was a mysterious and massive order of ships by the Kaminoans via Kuat's subsidiary Rathana Heavy Engineering, along with a lucrative contract secured by the Jedi Order to produce Delta 7 interceptors. Given that they believed that the other businesses were okay with killing their 2 delegates, and now they had these massive contracts for the clone army and the Jedi, and you can see why Kuat now saw itself easily aligning with the Republic. Throw in the fact that the Battle of Naboo was waged by their now rivals in the Trade Federation, and Newt Gunray having a prominent seat in the CIS, combined with the production orders placed just days after the Battle of Geonosis, a whopping 1,000 new Acclamators ordered alone, all happily making Kuat Drive Yards the main contractor of the Republic war machine, continuing its service for decades after the Clone Wars, to provide Palpatine, the mastermind behind the Eriadu Trade Summit, with all of the Imperial Star Destroyers, Walkers, and Super Star Destroyers that he would need to run his hard-earned empire. Even after the Empire fell, Palpatine's important lesson still remains, because even though the New Republic was able to build up its own fleets, these companies were in no way loyal to them, having no issues pumping out ships for other factions, the biggest of which being the First Order, which would be able to build up their military force and return from the unknown regions to take over the galaxy. So that's it for the history, and some really cool behind the scenes facts is that this story appears in the novel Cloak of Deception, and Tarkin actually takes part in this story as well, as he was a lieutenant at that time and a native to Eriadu. Also, despite Kuat's falling out with the Separatists, there was one time where they fulfilled an order for heavily armored combat vessels that would make up Storm Fleet of the CIS, an act that when exposed, caused some senators to accuse KYD of treason. But of course Palpatine was able to come in and calm the tensions by saying that it was just a misunderstanding, that the ships were intended for a planetary defense fleet that the CIS just subsequently absorbed. So that's it for the story of how Kuat Drive Yards came to align with the Republic, and nearly avoided falling in with the CIS. But most important of all, remember, make sure your military contractors are loyal, and the Force will be with you, always.